he sees like all these things that are going bad, and then he turns and he sees the black ships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, that's even worse. Like
Right.
it was like, and he's like, so he
Right.
was like thinking it was his fighting, not even to fight. He was like, you know what, we're all gonna die. It's all done.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, and then he pointed, and Tolkien said, and then the ship turned,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wind came up and unfurled the banner of
Right.
like
Of Aragorn.
Aragorn.
Yep.
And then he's like, "Oh, right!" Like it's
Right.
like he's like at the point of like, oh,
Right.
"Wait, this is supposed to destroy us. Now it's coming to save us."
Right.
You know. Tolkien, like he was in World War One in the Somme and lost all his best friends,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that war.
Yeah.
And so he was very much affected by evil,
Yeah.
it's like firsthand,
Right.
and him and Lewis too. Him and Lewis,
Yeah.
that's how they became friends. And they were kind of, they used myth and they used these
Yeah.
stories and creativity to sort of like work through
Yeah.
their grief.
Yeah. And
So
and and maybe that's why they have so much profound wisdom to give us, is because they had to go through that. And I actually have one of my PowerPoints that I made for teens has like each it's like themed with Lord of the Rings, so you'll see it. Because you,
oh,
you
I
can
want to see
actually
that.
illustrate so much of the problem of evil with Lord of the Rings. It's awesome. It's really cool.
I was watching a video earlier by this
Mm-hmm.
guy who's talking about the Eucatastrophe, and he was
Mm-hmm.
quoting in the Battle of the Planor.
Uh-huh.
Is that how you say it? The
I don't
Planor,
know.
right in front of
Polenar Fields, I think. Polenar.
Flenderfield, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and Minas Tirith, where
Mm-hmm.
Eomer just witnessed the death of Theoden,
Mm-hmm.
and basically and he's basically saying to death, to ruin,
Mm-hmm.
in a red morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, and then he sees like all these things that are going bad, and then he turns and he sees the black ships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, that's even worse. Like
Right.
it was like, and he's like, so he
Right.
was like thinking it was his fighting, not even to fight. He was like, you know what, we're all gonna die. It's all done.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, and then he pointed, and Tolkien said, and then the ship turned,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wind came up and unfurled the banner of
Right.
like
Of Aragorn.
Aragorn.
Yep.
And then he's like, "Oh, right!" Like it's
Right.
like he's like at the point of like, oh,
Right.
"Wait, this is supposed to destroy us. Now it's coming to save us."
Right. That
And
turn.
that's kind of
Yeah.
how that's like a great, like as you're reading these books, you're like, man, how much worse can this get? Like
Right.
the worst part of reading Lord of the Rings for me
Mm-hmm.
is reading Sam and Frodo's long,
Oh, I know.
tenuous
I
journey.
know.
I'm like, can I just skip this? This is like
I
so
know. I know.
painful.
I told that to my son and my students. I've like wanted to shoot myself reading that part, and I'm like, the movie did a good job breaking it up, because it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, Tolkien. Wow.
And he goes on and on
Yeah.
and on. It's like,
Yes.
dude, I understand this is horrible. I don't need to carry this ring too.
I
I just
know.
think,
Maybe he had
but I
like
think he's
really
doing.
bad writer's block or something. I don't know.
No,
Like for that
I just want.
period.
He just wanted to give. I think he wanted to just like strap his readers with the weight of this thing, and then
Maybe.
finally,
Maybe.
when it's like released, it's like finally, you're like, whew,
Yeah.
And also, I also like to watch reaction videos on YouTube
Uh-huh.
for people who've never watched Return of the King, because
Oh,
I
cool.
know what's coming.
Right. Right. That's
And
awesome.
I see them like crying at like Theoden's death, and I'm like, man, you haven't
Right.
even started yet. This is
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
if you're crying at Theoden's death, man, you're not gonna make it through this
Right.
movie. Because
Right.
my wife who's not a Tolkien fan, I made her
Uh-huh.
sit through like all three movies. She was like, because she's like, nine. How do you remember these nine people? Like I was even
Right.
like, who's who?
Right.
And at the end, she was like a blubbering mess at the end
Right.
of Return of the King.
That's
She was just
awesome.
like, I couldn't. When Frodo, she's like, he's leaving. She's like,
Right. I know.
she's like, wait a minute.
What
We
is
spent
it?
all this time with this guy, and he gets to leave, and like he's leaving his friends, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
and then Gandalf at the end, he says, "I'm not going to tell you not to
Do
weep,
not weep, for not all tears
because
are evil.
not all tears are evil."
Right.
That is like, Tolkien is just
Yeah.
he's the man.
That's a great illustration even for problem of evil. I will not tell you, do not weep, not all tears are an evil. There's stuff that's worth tears. Yeah.
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 Jill,
Awesome.
thank you so much for being part of this.
You're welcome. That was really fun.